once you put it down.
Okay. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom, Judith.
Welcome to this Shabbat, and for this Shabbat we have two Parashah. The first is entitled Matot, which means tribes, from Numbers 31 through 32, 42, and Mattot-Masei, journeys of Numbers 33, verse 1 through 36, 13. And we'll start with the first one, Matot, at Numbers 1. Ve'yedaber Moshe el Roshi Hamatot lebnei Yisrael lamor ze hadavar asher tzava Adonai. Moses spoke to the heads of the Israelite tribes, saying, "This is what the Lord has commanded." And then we go to Masai, journeys of Numbers 33, 1. Ele Masai b'nei Yisrael asher yitz'u me'eretz Mitzrayim lesevatam beyad Moshe ve'Aaron. These were the marches of the Israelites who started out from the land of Egypt, troop by troop, in the charge of Moses and Aaron.
Psalm 31. In thee, O Lord, in thee, O Lord, do I put my trust. Let me never be ashamed. Deliver me in thy righteousness. Bow down thine ear to me. Deliver me speedily. Be thou my strong rock, for an house of defense to save me. For thou art my rock and my fortress. Therefore, for thy name's sake, lead me and guide me. Pull me out of the net that they have laid privately for me. For thou art my strength. Into thine hand I commit my spirit. Thou hast redeemed me, O Lord of truth. I have hated them that regard lying vanity, but I trust in the Lord. This is the word of the Lord. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. May your kingdom come, and may your will be done. We give thanks to you, Lord God, for being faithful to us and for giving us your Torah, for teaching us your truth, for delivering us out of bondage and delivering us from the penalty of sin, as you have delivered our brethren the Jews out of Egypt, and have made them free, and gave them a day to acknowledge that freedom. And we acknowledge it along with them, free from slavery and sin, and free from burdens, and free from its penalties, allowing us to worship you in spirit and in truth. And we thank you for the Shabbat that you gave and your Torah, that we may know right from wrong, and that we may know to choose what is right and good, and to draw closer to you. We thank you, Lord God, for the Messiah who came, for the Spirit that remains, and for the Father who sent both. This we pray in the name of our Christ Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem means ha'art. Blessed art thou, Lord our God, King of the universe, who gives us bread from the earth. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Berei pri hagapim. Blessed art thou, Lord our God, King of the universe, who gives us the fruit of the vine. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shabbat shalom. Shabbat Shabbat. Shabbat Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat 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 shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
I think I've said this the last 100 times. I really needed this Shabbat. There's something about the Shabbat. I tell you, when you really realize that God made it for us, and there's a reason He made it for us, and we need to stop whatever we're doing and think on Him, because I tell you, I've been drained, so I look forward to being filled with His Word. We'll start out with the first Parashah, and we'll do complete it all, then we'll have a break. And the first part is divided into two sections in my Torah. The first, offerings, festivals, vows of women, Numbers 30, verse 2 through 32:42, and then war and first settlement, Numbers 31, 1 through 32:41. And the first one is about 15 verses. So Barry will have you read that, and then we'll discuss it. And then on the second one, John, we'll tag team that one. I'll go first, and then you will go third. Okay? So we start with Numbers 32, verse 2 through 17. Barry.
Now the children of the Reuben, and the children of Gad had a
Are you at Numbers? Well, yours may be different too than mine. Numbers 32 2.
32 2.
Mm-hmm.
Of the children of Gad and the children of Reuben came and spake unto Moses. That's all right.
Mm-hmm.
Is it yours? Okay.
Yeah, that's where it starts. At least in mine it does.
Okay. So wait. Okay. Children of Gad. And let me just make sure. Go ahead and let me see what we get here.
And to Eleazar the priest, and unto the prince of the congregation, saying, at Athroth and Dibon and Jazer and
we're completely off here. Numbers, and yours is reading the same thing. Numbers.
Yeah.
Numbers 30.
We said 32.
No, 30 verse 2.
Oh.
Numbers chapter 30
verse 2,
through verse 17.
If a man, that's what you
sorry if I weren't clear.
If a man.
Moses spoke to the heads of the.
No, verse 2.
Verse 2.
That's if a man.
If a man.
If a man. Okay, let's see.
If a man vow a vow.
Oh, that's the verse 3 on mine. Go ahead. Just go ahead.
Unto the Lord, and swear an oath to bind his soul with the bond, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceedeth out of his mouth. If a woman also vow a vow unto the Lord, and bind herself by a bond, being in her father's house in her youth, and her father hear her vow and her bond wherewith she hath bond her soul, and her father shall hold in his peace at her. Then all her vows shall stand, and every bond wherewith she hath bound her soul shall stand. But if her father disallow her in the day that he heareth not any of her vows or her bonds wherewith she hath bond, her soul shall stand, and the Lord shall forgive her, because her father disallowed her. And if she had at all an husband when she vowed or uttered out of her lips, wherewith she bound her soul, and her husband heard it, and held his peace at her in the day that he heard it, here her vows shall stand, and her bond wherewith she bound her soul shall stand. But if her husband disallow her on the day that he heard it, then he shall make her vow which she vowed, and that which she uttered with her lips, wherewith she bound her soul, of none effect, and the Lord shall forgive her. But every vow of a widow and of her that is divorced, wherewith they have bond, their souls shall stand against her. And if she vow in her husband's house, and bond her soul by the bond with an oath, and her husband heard it, and held his peace at her, and disallowed her not, then all her vows shall stand, and every bond wherewith she bond her soul shall stand. But if her husband hath made them void on the day of her, and on the day he heard them, then whatsoever proceed out of her lips concerning her vows, or concerning the bond of her soul, shall not stand. Her husband hath made them void, and the Lord shall forgive her. Every vow and every binding oath to afflict the soul, her husband may establish it, or her husband may make it void. But if her husband altogether holds his peace at her from the day to day, then the established all her vows, or all her bonds which are upon her, he confirmeth them, because he held the peace at the end of the day that he heard them. But if he shall any way make them void after that he hath heard them, then he shall bear her iniquity. These are the statutes which the Lord commanded Moses between a man and his wife, between the father and his daughter, being yet in her youth in her father's house.
Thank you, Barry. I appreciate that. There's, I think, John, when you comment, or Barry's comment, I'm going to go look for this scripture. I didn't bring my book over. But this seems complicated, but it's not. It's straightforward. And it's talking about vows. And vows are a very serious thing. If you make a vow, God considers it very serious. But one of my teachers I was listening to, Jesus narrowed it down real simple. and I'm going to find out where it is. But Jesus said, "Let your yes be yes and your no be no," and there will be no need for vows of this sort, because when you're vowing, you're pledging to do something. So this is, again, very simple, very straightforward, and also concerning a woman, particularly and how her vows can stand or not stand, depending on whether she's married or divorced or widowed. And also in some of my notes, during the Kol Nidre service at the beginning of Yom Kippur, they have a Kol Nidre, which is a legal statement sung before Yom Kippur, and it's intended to absolve liability for failing to keep vows. And it's a very serious service. That's the first service you go to, if I'm not mistaken, before Yom Kippur, and it's sung. They usually sing Kol Nidre, which is very. I guess it's a legal. We're just to give you an idea of what God is doing. God has laid out a legal document in the Torah as to how He wants to be related to, and it's as if, let's, for an example, the United States has a legal document that we adhere to, the Constitution, and it's for the citizens to show how we're going to relate to one another within this United States. God has laid out these laws of how He wants man to relate to Him, and the Kol Nidre is again a legal statement trying to deal with all of this. So if we get it in our heads that what we're dealing with, that God gives us a system of laws, then I think maybe we'll understand God a little bit better, because the Torah is a system of laws of how God wants to be related to. Anybody else?
Yes. Well, when I think about this, these vows that are made, and basically vows are pretty much words, and these words are used to bind you, and the words are used to establish a society. A society is built on words, and the society is built on trust. And what it's enforcing here, in order to build a successful society, you must be trusted. You must be one who can be counted upon. And this is, one of the teachers was saying, is very unique in that the Jewish state or Jewish country was perhaps one of the first, this is back during the time of Exodus, the time of this writing, was that they were the first country to be established upon words, and those words were to be given and were to be trusted. So they're building a society, and in that society, in order for it to survive, it has to be one where a person gives their word, and their word is trusted. That's what I have gained from it, and from what some of the other teachers were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And even in our summary was just kind of the same thing.
Okay. All right. I was trying to find the what I was
Excuse me.
in Matthew, in the New Testament, Matthew 5:37. It says, "But let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay, for whatsoever is more than these cometh of evil." And also, it's found in I thought it was someplace else. But anyway, that will give you an idea, and you can go and reference that in terms of what Jesus was saying. But I like what you said, John. Again, and I think if we're learning how to relate to God, and God has laid out a document and how He wants to be related to, or if you're building a society, if you're going to build an orderly society, you have to lay out laws so that it doesn't become an anarchy, that you're just having everybody living according to their own laws. And so that's why this document that God gave Moses, the Torah, is so important, because it gives order to perhaps where there was chaos before. So I'm assuming, again, when God was talking about and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the earth, and there was no order, and God brings about order, and that's what the Torah is. And as we near the end, which we're nearing the end of the the book of Numbers, and then we'll get into Deuteronomy, where Moses, he's going to recount what we've been taught from Genesis to Numbers, and God building this orderly society. So we'll go on to the next part, where it's war and the first settlement, and we're going to divide it into two parts. I'll read Numbers 31:1, and it goes to 31:1 through 31:1 through 54, and John, you will read chapter 32, verse 1 through 42.
All right.
And it seems like a lot, but I believe it's just going to be outlining a lot of things for you. So we'll get through this and then discuss it. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Avenge the Israelite people on the Midianites, then you shall be gathered to your kin." Moses spoke to the people, saying, "Let men be picked out from among you for a campaign, and let them fall upon Midian, to wreak the Lord's vengeance on Midian. You shall dispatch on the campaign 1,000 from every one of the tribes of Israel." So 1,000 from each tribe were furnished from the division of Israel, 12,000 picked for the campaign. Moses dispatched them on the campaign, 1,000 from each tribe, with Pinchas, son of Eleazar, serving as priest on the campaign, equipped with the sacred utensils and the trumpets for sounding the blast. They took the field against Midian, as the Lord had commanded Moses, and slew every male. Along with the other victims, they slew the kings of Midian, Evi, Rechem, Zur, Hur, Reba, the 5 kings of Midian. They also put Balaam, son of Beor, to the sword. The Israelites took the women and children of the Midianites captive, and seized as booty all their beasts, all their herds, all their wealth. And they destroyed by fire all the towns in which they were settled, and their encampments. They gathered all the spoils and all the booty, man and beast, and they brought the captives, the booty and the spoil, to Moses, Eleazar the priest, and the whole Israelite community at the camp in the steppes of Moab, at the Jordan near Jericho. Moses, Eleazar the priest, and all the chieftains of the community came out to meet them outside the camp. Moses became angry with the commanders of the armies, the officers of thousands and the officers of hundreds who had come back from the military campaign. Moses said to him, "You have spared every female, yet they are the very ones who are bidding at Balaam, induced the Israelites to trespass against the Lord in the matter of Peor, so that the Lord's community was struck by the plague. Now therefore slay every male among the children, and slay every woman who has known a man carnally, but spare every young woman who has not had carnal relations with a man. You shall then stay outside the camp 7 days, every one among you, or among your captives, who has slain a person or touched a corpse, shall cleanse himself on the 3rd and 7th days. And you shall also cleanse every cloth, every article of skin, everything made of goat's hair, and every object of wood." Eleazar the priest said to the troops who had taken part in the fighting, "This is the ritual law that the Lord has enjoined upon Moses: gold, silver, copper, iron, tin, and lead. Any article that can withstand fire, these you shall pass through fire, and they shall be clean, except that they must be cleansed with water of lustration, and anything that cannot withstand fire you must pass through water. On the seventh day you shall wash your clothes and be clean, and after that you may enter the camp. The Lord said to Moses, you and Eleazar the priest and the family heads of the community take an inventory of the booty that was captured, man and beast, and divide the booty equally between the combatants who engaged in the campaign and the rest of the community. You shall exact a levy for the Lord in the case of the warriors who engaged in the campaign. 1 item and 500 of persons, oxen, asses, and sheep shall be taken from the half share and given to Eleazar the priest as a contribution to the Lord. And from the half share of the other Israelites you shall withhold 1 in every 50 human beings, as well as cattle, asses, and sheep, all the animals, and give them to the Levites, who attend to the duties of the Lord's tabernacle. Moses and Eleazar the priest did as the Lord commanded Moses. The amount of the booty, other than the spoil that the troops had plundered, came to 675,000 sheep, 72,000 head of cattle, 61,000 asses, and a total of 32,000 human beings, namely the women who had not had carnal relations. Thus the half share of those who had engaged in the campaign was as follows. The number of the sheep was 337,500, and the Lord's levy from the sheep was 675. The cattle came to 36,000, from which the Lord's levy was 72. The asses came to 30,500, from which the Lord's levy was 61. And the number of human beings was 6,000, from which the Lord's levy was 32. Moses gave the contribution levied for the Lord to Eleazar the priest, as the Lord had commanded Moses. As for the half share of the other Israelites, which Moses withdrew from the men who had taken the field, that half share of the community consisted of 337,500 sheep, 36,000 head of cattle, 30,500 asses, 16,000 human beings. From this half share of the Israelites, Moses withheld 1 in every 50 humans and animals. He gave them to the Levites, who attended to the duties of the Lord's tabernacle, as the Lord has commanded Moses. The commanders of the troops division, the officers of thousands, the officers of hundreds, approached Moses. They said to Moses, your servants have made a check of the warriors in our charge, and not one of us is missing. So we have brought an offering to the Lord, such articles of gold as each of us came upon, armlets, bracelets, signet rings, earrings, pendants, that expiation may be made for our person before the Lord. Moses and Eleazar the priest accepted the gold from them, all kinds of wrought articles, all the gold that was offered by the officers of thousands and the officers of 100 as a contribution to the Lord, came to 16,750 shekels. But in the ranks everyone kept his booty for himself. So Moses and Eleazar the priest accepted the gold from the war officers of thousands and officers of hundreds, and brought it to the tent of the meeting as a reminder in behalf of the Israelites before the Lord.
Want me to read? You want to talk about it?
What do you think?
No, I'll read it.
Okay.
Now the children of Reuben and the children of Gad had a very great multitude of cattle. And when they saw the land of Jazer and the land of Gilead, that both the places had a place for cattle, the children of Gad and the children of Reuben came and spake unto Moses and to Eleazar the priest, and unto the princes of the congregation, saying, Ataroth and Dibon and Jazer and Nimrah and Heshbon and Elealah and Shebon and Nebo and Beon, even the country which the Lord smote before the congregation of Israel, is a land for cattle, and thy servants have cattle. Wherefore said they, if we have found grace in thy sight, let this land be given unto thy servants for a possession, and bring us not into Jordan. And Moses said unto the children of Gad and the children of Reuben, Shall your brothers go to war, and shall ye sit here? And wherefore discourage ye the hearts of the children of Israel from coming into the land which the Lord has given them? Thus did your fathers when I sent them to Kadesh Barnea to see the land. And when they went up upon the valley of Echos and saw the land, they discouraged the hearts of the children of Israel, that they should not go into the land which the Lord has given them. And the Lord's anger was kindled the same time, and he swore, saying, Surely none of the men that came up out of Egypt from 20 years old and upward shall see the land which I swear unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, because they have not wholly followed me, save Caleb and the son of Jephunneh, and Jephunneh the Kenite, and Joshua the son of Nun, but they wholly followed the Lord. And the Lord's anger was kindled against Israel, and he made them wander in the wilderness 40 years, until all the generation that had done evil in the sight of the Lord was consumed. And behold, ye are risen up in your father's stead, an increase of sinful men, to augment yet the fierce anger of the Lord towards Israel. For if ye turn away from after him, you will yet again leave them in the wilderness, and ye shall destroy all this people. And they came near unto him and said, We will build sheepfolds here for our cattle, and cities for our little ones. But we ourselves will go ready armed before the children of Israel, until we have brought them unto their place, and our little ones shall dwell in the fenced cities because of the inhabitants of the land. We will not return unto our house until the children of Israel have inherited every man his inheritance, for we will not inherit with them on yonder side Jordan, or forward, because our inheritance is fallen to us on this side Jordan east. And Moses said unto them, If you will do this thing, if ye will go armed before the Lord to war, and will go all of you armed over Jordan before the Lord, until he has driven out his enemies from before him, and the land will be subdued before the Lord. Then afterwards you shall return, and be guiltless before the Lord, and before Israel. And this land shall be your possession before the Lord. But if you will not do so, behold, ye have sinned against the Lord, and be sure your sins will find you out. Build you cities for your little ones, and folds for your sheep, and do that which has proceeded out of your mouth. And the children of Gad and the children of Reuben spake unto Moses, saying, Thy servants will do as my Lord commanded. Our little ones, our wives, our flocks, and all our cattle shall be there in the city of Gilead. But thy servants will pass over, every man armed for war before the Lord, to battle as my Lord saith. So concerning them, Moses commanded Eleazar the priest, and Joshua the son of Nun, and the chief fathers of the tribe of the children of Israel. And Moses said unto them, If the children of Gad and the children of Reuben will pass with you over Jordan, every man armed to battle before the Lord, and the land shall be subdued before you, then you shall give them the land of Gilead for a possession. But if they will not pass over with you armed, they shall have possession among you in the land of Canaan. And the children of Gad and the children of Reuben answered, saying, As the Lord hath said unto thy servant, so will we do. We will pass over armed before the Lord unto the land of Canaan, that the possession of our inheritance on this side Jordan may be ours. And Moses said unto them, even to the children of Gad and to the children of Reuben, and unto the half tribe of Manasseh, the sons of Joseph, the kingdom of Sihon, king of the Amorites, and the kingdom of Og, king of Bashan, the land and the cities thereof, in the coasts, even the cities of the countries round about. And the children of Gad built Dibon, and Ashtaroth, and Aroer, and Ashtaroth, and Shopan, and Jezreel, and Jogbehah, and Beth Nimrah, and Beth Haran, fenced cities and foes for sheep. And the children of Reuben built Heshbon, and Elealah, and Kiriathaim, and Nebo, and Belamion, their names being changed, and Shemosh, and gave other names unto the cities which they built. And the children of Machir, and the son of Manasseh, went to Gilead and took it, and dispossessed the Amorites which was in it. And Moses gave Gilead unto Machir, the son of Manasseh, and he dwelled therein. And Yair, the son of Manasseh, went and took the small town thereof, and called them Havoth Jarah. And Nobah went and took Kenoth and the valleys thereof, and called it Nobath, after his own name. Okay. So you want me to start?
A lot happened here. No, I'll tell you, I'll start since I started reading. The Lord spoke to Moses, and this is startling. We don't want to miss this. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Avenge the Israelite people on the Midianites, then you shall be gathered to your kin. So God is preparing Moses to leave this earth. And this is one of the last things that Moses has to do. And so he methodically dispatches the army of Israel, because that's what they are. When they came out of Egypt, they were an army of the Lord. And he dispatches them to have vengeance on Midian. And remember who Midian is, and I forgot myself, that Balaam, who we studied a few parshas back, Balaam was son of Peor, was sent, Balak wanted him to curse Israel. And so, in addition to them killing all the kings, they also put Balaam, son of Peor, to the sword. And remember, since we some continuity here. And the Israelite women and children of the Midianite captives, and they were supposed to put them, the women who had known men, put them to the sword also. And this goes in to tell us about all the booty and things that came out, and that Moses was angry with the commanders of the army because they did not put the women to the sword, because supposedly Balaam used these women in order to entice Israel to do evil during this escapade with Balak and Balaam. And so that's why Moses had instructed them to put them to the sword. And so we also have, again, very methodically what they got, and what their portion was, and what God's portion was from all of this booty that they gathered. And also someone else involved in this who we talked about, that you want to be sure, I should have told you about him, that who was, it's in verse 6 of chapter 31, Moses dispatched them on the campaign, 1,000 from each tribe, and Pinchas, son of Eleazar, serving as the priest on the campaign, equipped with the sacred utensils and the trumpet for sounding the blast. So this is them going into battle, and it's a very methodical thing that they do. The priests are going before them. So we have all of this occurring, and and then the part I read, so Moses and Eleazar the priest accepted the gold from the officers of thousands and the officers of hundreds, and brought it to the tent of the meeting as a reminder in behalf of the Israelites for the Lord. Anything you want to say?
Well, yes, just to follow up on this theme of yours with the children of Israel going out to battle. Yes, the part I underlined, one of the teachers mentioned, was the children of Israel were to avenge Midian. So it's the idea of an attack which Midian performed on Israel was basically an attack on God, and he wanted them to avenge the attack that they perpetrated on God. So when Midian was causing Israel to sin, it was an attack on God, and God wanted to avenge them. And yes, Balak couldn't. He tried his best to curse Israel, but they came out blessings. But what he did give was some advice. Well, use the women to entice Israel, and that will suffice. That will bring them down. That will destroy Israel. And that was one of the reasons. That was what he wanted to do, is have the women to entice him, and that will take care of the Israelite problem. And that was one of the reasons Moses was so angry that they didn't kill all the women, because the women were the instigators of this fall.
Right.
And they did deal with that. Now, one of the things, some of the people talk about 12,000 went to war, and they're trying to figure out, say, well, there's 12 tribes, 1,000 in each, but the Levites didn't have soldiers, so was it, if Levites sent out 1,000 too, wouldn't it be 13,000? So the 12,000 may include Joseph had 2 tribes, so maybe that's what the 12,000.
Ephraim and Manasseh.
Yeah. So actually 13,000 went out, but only 12,000 were ready for war. Is going to be my calculation. The other part, Eleazar the priest. Now, when was that the part I was reading about Reuben and
the Gadites?
Okay.
They were going to go, and
right.
They wanted to remain on this side.
Yeah, I was a little surprised with the number of sheep and cattle that they ended up acquiring from that battle. It was a huge amount. So a huge amount of animals and stuff. So that was interesting. Now, let me talk about my part too, about the chapter 32 with Gad and Reuben. Moses was angry with them. Well, they went to Moses saying, well, you know, we got cattle and we want to stay on this side of Jordan because this is a great place for cattle. And Moses was angry. Now, the biggest mistake that these two groups are making, Reuben and Gad, is that they're thinking about the physical, not the spiritual. They're thinking about their physical possession and ignoring the spiritual implications that are involved here, because they talk about their cattle a lot more than they talk about their children. And they don't talk about going into the land. When Moses addresses them, he uses God's name. One person counted, I think, about 5 times or so. So Moses is concerned about the physical, possessing the land, but entering the land, but also about the spiritual aspects of it too. And he said that he actually called them sinners because all they were concerned about was physical possession, not their spiritual possession, not the children, not community, not family, not anything else, just the physical. And sometimes when we're rich, we're concerned about the physical and maintaining the physical. But that was the big issue with them. So I think that's about all I have for that.
They're definitely getting ready to go into the land. This is a very a momentous occasion we're arriving at, because they're getting ready to do what God intended them to do 40 years ago. They're getting ready to possess the land. And not only, as we talked about a few weeks ago, they're getting ready to, as you said, untie the land.
Right.
Because their presence in the land means that something monumental is going to happen. That's why even in this day and time, the monumental hasn't happened the way it should, because all of Israel is not back in the land.
Right.
When they all get back in the land, then fireworks will take place. So that's why they have to be back in the land. It's important that Israel has to be back in that land. That's the key. It's like opening a lock. They're the key that will open this lock. But it will only happen if they're in the land of Israel, the land that God gave to them in the Torah. Okay? All right, we're going to take a break right now if you don't have anything else to say. And then we'll go to the next Parashah, which isn't that long. And then we'll end up doing that Parashah, and then closing out this the book of Numbers.
Okay.
And let me make sure I say it isn't this long, but it seems like that's good.
Quite a few chapters, 33 to 37.
Oh yeah. Oh no. You know what? I see what I did. It is that long. Well, it's really not that bad, because the last one isn't not that bad, and not even it's not that bad. Okay, but we'll take a break though in this before
36. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we'll take a break before we proceed on. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Okay. While y'all are eating, this first part of the next Parashah is a lot of where they stopped and all that, and so I'm going to read that to you while you all go ahead and eat, and that'll help us, and then together we'll do the last part. There's a lot of places where they stopped. It says supposedly they stopped at 42 sites. So the Israelites stayed during their 40 years of wandering in the deserts, from the first camp after Exodus called Sukkot to their current encampment across the river from the land of Canaan. And this is going to be Numbers 33, 1 through 34, 29. A review of the wanderings and the boundaries of Canaan. So we're summarizing what they did. This is a summary. And it begins, these were the marches of the Israelites who started out from the land of Egypt, troop by troop, in the charge of Moses and Aaron. Moses recorded the starting points of their various marches as directed by the Lord. Their marches by starting points were as follows. They set out from Ramses in the first month on the 15th day of the first month. It was on the morrow of the Passover offering that the Israelites started out boldly in plain view of all the Egyptians. The Egyptians meanwhile were burying those among them whom the Lord had struck down, every firstborn, whereby the Lord executed judgment on their gods. The Israelites set out from Ramses and encamped at Succoth. They set out from Succoth and encamped at Etham, which is on the edge of the wilderness. They set out from Etham and turned about toward Pi-hahiroth, which faces Baal-Riphon, and they encamped before Migdal. They set out from Pnei-hahiroth and passed through the sea into the wilderness, and they made a 3 days' journey in the wilderness of Etham and encamped at Marah. They set out from Marah and came to Elim. There were 12 springs in Elim and 70 palm trees, so they encamped there. They set out from Elim and encamped by the Sea of Reeds. They set out from the Sea of Reeds and encamped in the wilderness of Sin. They set out from the wilderness of Sin and encamped at Dophkah. They set out from Dophkah and encamped at Alush. They set out from Alush and encamped at Rephidim. It was there that the people had no water to drink. They set out from Rephidim and encamped in the wilderness of Sinai. They set out from the wilderness of Sinai and encamped at Kibroth Bat-Tavah. They set out from Kibroth Hatavah and encamped at Hazaroth. They set out from Hazaroth and encamped at Rithmah. They set out from Rithmah and encamped at Rimmon Perez. They set out from Rimmon Perez and encamped at Libnah. They set out from Libnah and encamped at Risa. They set out from Risa and encamped at Kehilath. They set out from Kehilath and encamped at Mount Sephir. They set out from Mount Shepher and encamped at Haradah. They set out from Haradah and encamped at Machheloth. They set out from Machheloth and encamped at Tahath. They set out from Tahath and encamped at Terach. They set out from Terach and encamped at Mithkah. They set out from Mithkah and encamped at Hashmonah. They set out from Hashmonah and encamped at Moseroth. They set out from Moseroth and encamped at Bnei Yakan. They set out from Bnei Yakan and encamped at Har Hagidad. They set out from Hor Hagidad and encamped at Horbath. They set out from Hotbath and encamped at Abronah. They set out from Abronah and encamped at Ezion-Geber. They set out from Ezion-Geber and encamped in the wilderness of Sin, that is Kadesh. They set out from Kadesh and encamped at Mount Hor, on the edge of the land of Edom. Aaron the priest ascended Mount Hor at the command of the Lord and died there, in the 40th year after the Israelites had left the land of Egypt, on the first day of the 5th month. And Aaron was 123 years old when he died on Mount Hor. And the Canaanite king of Arad, who dwelt in the Negeb, in the land of Canaan, learnt of the coming of the Israelites. They set out from Mount Hor and encamped at Zalmonah. They set out from Zalmonah and encamped at Punyan. They set out from Punyan and encamped at Hoboth. They set out from Oboth and encamped at Lai Abarim, in the territory of Moab. They set out from Elim and encamped at Dibon-Gad. They set out from Dibon-Gad and encamped at Alman Diblatayim. They set out from Alman Diblatayim and encamped in the hills of Abarim before Nebo. They set out from the hills of Abarim and encamped in the steppes of Moab at the Jordan near Jericho. They encamped by the Jordan from Beth Yeshhiboth as far as Abal Shittim and the steppes of Moab. In the steppes of Moab at the Jordan near Jericho, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the Israelite people and say to them, when you cross the Jordan into the land of Canaan, you shall dispossess all the inhabitants of the land. You shall destroy all of their figured objects. You shall destroy all of their molten images. You shall demolish all their cult places. You shall take possession of the land and settle in it, for I have given the land to you to possess. You shall apportion the land among yourselves by lot, clan by clan, and with larger groups increase the share, with smaller groups reduce the share. Wherever the lot falls for anyone, that shall be his. You shall have your portions according to your ancestral tribes. But if you do not dispossess the inhabitants of the land, those whom you allow to remain shall be stings in your eyes and thorns in your sides, and they shall harass you in the land in which you live, so that I will do to you what I plan to do to them. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Instruct the Israelite people and say to them, when you enter the land of Canaan, this is the land that shall fall to you as your portion, the land of Canaan with its various boundaries. Your southern sector shall extend from the wilderness of Zin alongside Edom. Your southern border shall start on the east from the tip of the Dead Sea. Your boundaries shall then turn to pass south of the ascent Akrabim and continue to Zin, and its limits shall be south of Kadesh Barnea, reaching Hazar Adar and continuing to Asmon. From Asmon the boundary shall turn toward the Wadi of Egypt and terminate at the sea. From the western boundary you shall have the coast of the Great Sea, that shall serve as your western boundary. This shall be your northern boundary. Draw a line from the Great Sea to Mount Hor. From Mount Hor draw a line to Lebo Hamath, and let the boundaries reach Zidad. The boundary shall then run to Zephron and terminate at Hazar Enan. That shall be your southern boundary. For your eastern boundary you shall draw a line from Hazar Enan to Shephem. From Shephem the boundary shall descend to Riblah on the east side of Ain. From there the boundary shall continue downward and about on the eastern slopes of the Sea of Kinnereth, and the boundary shall then descend along the Jordan and terminate at the Dead Sea. That shall be your land as defined by its boundaries on all sides. Moses instructed the Israelites, saying, This is the land you are to receive by lot as your hereditary portion, which the Lord has commanded to be given to the 9.5 tribes, for the Reubenite tribe by its ancestral houses, the Gadite tribe by its ancestral houses, and the half-tribe of Manasseh have already received their portion. Those 2.5 tribes have received their portion across the Jordan, opposite Jericho, on the east and the orient side. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, These are the names of the men through whom the land shall be apportioned. For you, Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun. You shall take a chieftain from each tribe through whom the land shall be apportioned. These are the names of the men from the tribe of Judah: Caleb, son of Jephunneh. From the Simeonite tribe, Samuel, son of Ammihud. From the tribe of Benjamin, Elidad, son of Kislon. From the Danite tribe, a chieftain, Buki, son of Jogli. For the descendants of Joseph, from the Manassite tribe, a chieftain, Haniel, son of Ephod. From the Ephraimite tribe, a chieftain, Kemuel, son of Shipton. From the Zebulite tribe, a chieftain, Elizaphan, son of Parnak. From the Iskarite tribe, a chieftain, Paltiel, son of Azan. From the Asherite tribe, a chieftain, Ahihud, son of Shilomi. From the Naphthalite tribe, a chieftain, Pedahel, son of Ammihud. It was these whom the Lord designated to allot portions to the Israelites in the land of Canaan. And that's pretty straightforward there in terms of where they were, how they started out after coming out of Egypt during the 40 years. Anybody like to add anything?
Well, maybe straightforward, but it also picks out what they're engaged in is a journey,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a journey through life. And some places we stay very briefly, and I guess sometimes they pick up and leave after 3 days and so forth. But this is parallel to a journey of life and the obstacles and the ups and downs we go through in that life.
Mm-hmm.
And the journeys we make, I should say, until we get to our destination or the place we should be.
Yes.
I wrote a note here. Let's see if I captured everything I said. That said, our lives is a journey of travels to that final place, that final resting place. And I said it was the place of promise. It is our travels. In our travels, there's a lot of things we must go through. Some of the things we go through last longer than others. But this is the stuff of life, traveling and journeying and stopping and obstacles and difficulty. They're talking about life's journey.
Mm-hmm.
And there is one of the teachers said there is a connection between the vows we make and the journeys we take and the second half.
Mm-hmm.
And it went a roundabout way, and I was trying to capture what that connection between the two of making a vow and traveling through life, and what was that connection. One is that he said at the time a child is born, that God takes a vow or makes a vow to him, and it tells him to be a righteous person and not a wicked person. And he gives that vow to us, knowing that we can do it. We can live being a righteous person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the connection between making a vow and these journeys.
Mm-hmm.
It's the idea of God making a vow to us at the time we're born to be a righteous person as we journey through this world.
Mm-hmm.
So, it may be hard to see that connection, but I don't know, it may take a little thinking.
Yeah.
There's some other thing that goes on there too, but the idea is that, there are journeys in life,
Mm-hmm.
and there are lots of places, lots of things we have to go through, and a lot of stops. And some are temporary, some are longer.
Mm-hmm. You're right. Life is a journey toward
That final
the final
place.
destination. Life is a journey.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the things they did here, God told them also, I think we've talked about many times, that he commanded them to when they get in the land, what do? You tear down the images and the altars, and you get rid of the people, or else they're going to be a thorn in your side.
Right.
They didn't listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't listen to him.
Yeah.
And so the inhabitants have been a thorn in Israel's side to this day.
Mm-hmm.
They did not listen to God.
Mm-hmm.
Just like people that they get greedy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You have some that they just want more,
Yes.
and that more just turns into not good but
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. That's exactly right. All right. Now the next part
35?
is called Levitical Towns, Cities of Refuge. 35:1. And it'll be through 36:11. And I tell you what we'll do. We'll divide it up into 3 parts. And let's see here. 35:1. Okay, 35:1. So 35 is 30 verses. So I tell you what. Barry, you read from 35 verse 1 through 15. And then John, you take up at 16 through 30, and then I'll finish up.
Okay.
So Barry, you at Numbers 35, 1 through 15.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord spake unto Moses in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho, saying, command the children of Israel that they give unto the Levites and the inheritance of their possessions cities to dwell in, and ye shall give also unto the Levites suburbs for the cities round about them, and the city shall they have to dwell in, and the suburbs of them shall be for their cattle and for their goods and for all their beasts. And the suburbs of the cities which ye shall give unto the Levites shall reach from the wall of the cities of the outward 1,000 cubits round about. And ye shall measure from about without the city on the east side 2,000 cubits and on the south side 2,000 cubits, and on the west side 2,000 cubits, and on the north side 2,000 cubits, and the city shall be in the midst. This shall be to them the suburbs of the cities. And among the cities which ye shall give unto the Levites, they shall be 6 cities for refuge, which shall they appoint for the manslayer, that he may flee thither.
Mm-hmm.
And to them shall add 42 cities. So all the cities which ye shall give to the Levites shall be 48 cities. Them shall ye give with their suburbs. And the cities which they shall give shall be the possessions of their children of Israel. From them that have many ye shall give many, but from them that have few shall give few. Every one shall give of his cities unto the Levites according to his inheritance which is inheriteth. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when ye shall become over Jordan into the land of Canaan, then ye shall appoint you cities to be to the cities of refuge for you, that the slayer may flee thither, which killeth any person at unaware. And they shall be unto you cities for refuge from the avenger, that the manslayer die not until he stand before the congregation in judgment. And of these cities which ye shall give, 6 cities shall ye have for refuge. And ye shall give 3 cities on this side of Jordan, and 3 cities shall ye give in the land of Canaan, which shall the cities of refuge. The 6 cities shall be a refuge both for children of Israel and for the stranger, and for the sojourning among them, that every one that killeth any person unawares may flee thither.
And if he smotes him with an instrument of iron, so that he died, he is a murderer, and the murderer shall shall surely be put to death. And if he smote him with throwing a stone, wherewith he may die, and he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. Or if he smote him with a hand weapon of wood, wherewith he may die, and he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. The avenger of blood himself shall slay the murderer. When he meets him, he shall slay him. But if he thrust him of hatred, or hurl at him by lying in wait, that he die, or in enmity smote him with his hand, that he die, he that smote him shall surely be put to death, for he is a murderer. The avenger of blood shall slay the murderer when he meets him. But if he thrust him suddenly, without enmity, or have cast upon him anything without lying of weight, or with any stone, wherewith a man may die, seeing him not, and cast it upon him, that he die, and was not his enemy, neither sought his harm, then the congregation shall judge between the slayer and the revenger of blood according to their judgment. And the congregation shall deliver the slayer out of the hands of the revenger of blood, and the congregation shall restore him to the city of his refuge. Whether he was fled, or he shall abide in it unto the death of the high priest, which was atonement with the holy oil. But if the slayer shall at any time come without the border of the city of his refuge, whether he was fled, and the revenger of blood finds him without the border of the city of his refuge, and the revenger of blood kills the slayer, he shall not be guilty of blood, because he should have remained in the city of his refuge until the death of the high priest. But after the death of the high priest, the slayer shall return unto the land of his possession. So these things shall be for a statute of judgment unto you throughout your generations and all your dwelling. Whoso kills any person, the murderer shall be put to death. But by the mouth of witnesses. But one witness shall not testify against any person to cause him to die. Moreover, you shall take no satisfaction for the life of a murderer, which is guilty of death, but he shall be surely put to death, and ye shall take no satisfaction for him that is fled to the city of his refuge, that he should come again to dwell in the land until the death of the high priest, until the death of the priest. So ye shall not pollute the land wherein you are. For blood, it defiles the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that sheds it. Defile not therefore the land which ye shall inhabit, wherein I dwell. For I, the Lord, dwell among the children of Israel.
The family heads in the clan of the descendants of Gilead, son of Machir, son of Manasseh, one of the Josephites' clans, came forward and appealed to Moses and the chieftain family heads of the Israelites. They said, "The Lord commanded my Lord to assign land to the Israelites as shares by lot, and my Lord who was further commanded by the Lord to assign the share of our kinsman Zelophehad to his daughters. Now if they marry persons from another Israelite tribe, their share will be cut off from our ancestral portion, and be added to the portion of the tribe into which they marry. Thus our allotted portion will be diminished. And even when the Israelites observe the Jubilee, their share will be added to that of the tribe which with they marry, and their share shall be cut off from the ancestral portion of our tribe." So Moses, at the Lord's bidding, instructed the Israelites, saying, "The plea of the Josephite tribe is just. This is what the Lord has commanded concerning the daughters of Zelophehad. They may marry anyone they wish, provided they marry into a clan of their fathers' tribes. No inheritance of the Israelites may pass over from one tribe to another, but the Israelites must remain bound each to the ancestral portion of his tribe. Every daughter among the Israelite tribe who inherits a share must marry someone from a clan of her father's tribe, in order that every Israelite may keep his ancestral share. Thus no inheritance shall pass over from one tribe to another, but the Israelite tribes shall remain bound each to its portion." The daughters of Zelophehad did as the Lord had commanded Moses. Machlah, Tirzah, Haglah, Milcah, and Noach, Zelophehad's daughters, were married to the sons of their uncles, marrying into clans of the descendants of Manasseh, son of Joseph. So their share remained in the tribe of their father's clan. These are the commandments and regulations that the Lord enjoined upon Israelites through Moses on the steppes of Moab at the Jordan near Jericho. They got a lot of things cleared up here.
Such as?
A lot of things tied up about the cities of refuge, and the problem with Zelophehad, the daughters, making sure that the portion remains within the tribe,
Right.
clearing that up. So those are some major things. I mean, housekeeping things, I think, if you will, of them just before they go into the land.
Now, there's cities of refuge for the person who kills someone. No, that's for if you kill someone, well, by mistake. It's not a deliberate act. It's not you hated this person and you killed them. But this is someone who accidentally killed an individual, and they would go to this city of refuge, and basically they're under the protection of the high priest. And but it's for you kill a person accidentally, not because of deliberate act. And for those who deliberately kill a person, they get judged, and you can't have just one witness. You need more than one witness to adjudicate him guilty. And I guess I forgot all about that part. I think it's kind of interesting too, because the 5 young ladies of
Zelophehad.
Zelophehad. I guess his daughters, they didn't marry until they may have married within the clan beforehand, but they were definitely wanted. They knew they were going to the land, and they definitely want a piece of that land,
An inheritance in the land.
Inheritance in the land.
Yes.
They were bent on that. They wanted to be, and they wanted to live in that land. And for now, I'm going to say they waited until they didn't marry, because if they would have married, they wouldn't have gotten any land. So they stayed single until they got that land issue squared away. And when it got squared away, then they married, and they followed the process, the procedure for marriage of who they could marry. So that was good.
That it?
I thought I underlined. No, I think I underlined about the person who killed someone unintentionally. It wasn't intentional. Accidental, I should say.
Well, they've set up. The setup is here for us now to go to Deuteronomy to hear Moses' summation. And I love Deuteronomy because it summarizes all of Torah, and he does such an eloquent job, and he adds a lot to it so they should understand, because he's getting ready to die, and so he's trying to impart all he can before he goes. So we have completed Numbers, and we've completed the tribes, Matot, and Masai. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Masai, journeys of, and we are. I must remind you that we're getting ready for the high holy days, because once we finish Deuteronomy, we will be into the really thick into the high holy days. So we should be anticipating something, because God is a God of order. God doesn't withhold things from us. And these particular holidays are coming up. It's a lot of important things happen. So we should be expecting something from God. If you look at the handout, the entitled Journeys of Masai, and on the page 6, when you complete a Parashah at the end of a book, we recite this at the end of this Parashah, as with every Parashah that concludes the book of the Torah.
I don't have a page 6.
You don't have page 6?
Mm-hmm.
On
No.
on the Masai? Did I not?
No. I don't
The
have
journeys?
Page 6 on either one.
Yeah, 1 through 5.
How about?
The other one's 1 through 5.
Oh, you know what?
I just got page 9.
Well, look at your last page, and I'm sorry, mine is old. Look at your last page on the Journeys of, and see where they have the part for the next Torah. For next week? Is that on there?
They put Masai for next week.
What? Look at the other one then. There are
Yeah.
2 handouts. If they put the side for next week, then look at the other handout.
Okay.
Look at the last page.
This one points to Matot. Yeah, points to Matot, which is.
Does
the
any one of your handouts point to Deuteronomy for your next thing? For your next.
None say anything about Deuteronomy, no.
For your next.
This
How?
one here's got Numbers 30 and Numbers 31.
Okay, that one right there. Look throughout all your pages and see if it has the next Parashah.
No.
Okay, well let me. Because you know what? I'm sorry. I couldn't print out the one that I have, but I'm sure he has it on here somewhere. Let's see if he doesn't. If he doesn't, I'm gonna have to teach it to you. Yes. Here it is, right here. Very on the page 3 of the one Journeys of the weekly Torah saying Journeys of Masai. Journeys of page 3 at the bottom. John, let's transliterate it for you. On page 3 at the very bottom, and at the end of the book of the Torah, each book of the Torah, we say, and it translates, be strong, and may we be strengthened. And it's pronounced chazak, They need chazek.
Hazak.
Okay,
Hazak.
and so hold on again. We're gonna say it together. Okay, and then so at the end of the book of the Torah, at the end of the Parashah, and we recite it again. It means be strong, and may we be strengthened. Okay, may we say it? Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek.
Hazak.
Good. Be strong, and may we be strengthened. As we enter into Deuteronomy, which is absolutely marvelous. Absolutely marvelous. I love Deuteronomy. And so we are going to really get into the nitty-gritty, because if you know you're going to die, I'm sure you would try and tell all you could before you go. And that's what Moses is doing. Trying to tell them, because he knows this is a stiff-necked people. They're responsible, I say that lightheartedly, for him not getting into the land. And so he's trying to straighten them out and give them all he needs to before they go into the land. I was just thinking about this song, and you know this song, and so we're going to sing this song. And let me see. I think you repeat. I think you know what to say after I say the words. So follow along. Okay. When Israel was in Egypt land,
Let my people go.
oppressed so hard they could not stand.
Let my people go.
Go down,
Moses,
way down in Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. And that's what God has done. He's commanded that even in these times, that his people be commanded to be let go so that they can go and unlock the land, as John said a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
They need to go. They are the key. And so we pray that God's people will have an unction or an urging in their spirit to return to the land to unlock it. And so we just had a marvelous time studying these first 4 books of the Torah. And next week we really get into it. It's going to be really exciting, because there's so many things happening worldwide that points toward the Lord's coming again, because it's a shaking. If anything can be shaken, will be shaken, but we're not to be concerned. We know that if we follow Torah, that God will continue to lead and guide us the way we need to go. Mm-hmm. So we continue to do what he says. We've come and we've eaten the Seder meal. We've dipped the bread in the salt as a sign of a covenant, as a sign of not a vow, but a covenant. And a vow is not the same thing as a covenant, is it not, John?
A covenant? Well, a vow is something an individual will make. A covenant is an agreement between two people. A vow, a person will say that he will do such and such. And a covenant is more of an agreement between two people. They agree on a certain thing.
Well, God, the covenant.
Yeah, so you have an agreement with God.
Yes. Yeah. And we've reminded God that we have an agreement with him. Mm-hmm. And we're doing what he says to celebrate the 7th-day Sabbath. And this is important, especially today. I really needed it. Mm-hmm. I really needed the Shabbat today.
Me too.
To remind us that God is, he is going to fill us again, because I'm depleted and I need to be filled. Mm-hmm. So we thank you all for being here, and we pray that today that the Lord will fill you to overflowing, that he will give you direction as to where he wants you to go, what he wants you to do for his kingdom. And so we say Shabbat Shalom and Shavua Tov. Have a good week.
Shabbat Shalom.